Alright, so this time in example 7 part C, we're looking at the same cost, $20,000, the same scrap, $4,000, and again to get the wearing costs we do our C minus S, which we already calculated as $16,000. And now we're going to figure out, we're going to do double decline for 2 years and then straight line for the rest of the 3 years. So this one works much differently than what we did before. So here what we're going to do is our depreciation table set up the same way as you can see here. I already have that pre-done, but now our depreciation is going to be 2 times the book value over the number of years. Okay, over the number of years. So you could call that N if you wanted to, but everything we're doing in terms of these declining balances is annual. Sometimes it can be, quarterly or semi-annual, so their N would just, again, be the number of payments. Nothing would change. You just have more of them. So the book value that we're always going to be using is going to be the previous book value. Okay, so we know in year 0, no depreciation, no accumulated depreciation because we just bought the thing. So that's going to sit at $20,000. So then when we try to find D1, we're going to take 2 times the previous book value, which was $20,000, over the number of years total. So it's going to be over 5. So this value will change, but this denominator will not. Okay, so that gives us 40,000 over 5, or 8,000. As our first depreciation costs, which seems like a lot compared to what we've been doing, but here again you're going to have high decline for those first 2 years, and then the other 3 years are going to all be straight decline. So this is seen once in a while, and there's other ways that you can do this with kind of a weighted decline. Another video that I linked to this goes into that, but we're going to focus on this double decline for a couple years, and then the accumulation or the straight line accumulation for the rest of the years. And that's like what your project is, just on a bigger scale. So if we've only had one depreciation, then our accumulated depreciation would just be 8,000, and then our book value would be the previous book value, so that 20,000 minus our D, so we just have $20,000 minus our 8,000, so we should get 12,000. Okay, so we need to do this row first because now we're going to use this value to calculate our D2. Okay, so this was D1, so now we have to do D2. So we're going to take twice the previous book value, which was $12,000, because that's your current value of your asset right now at the beginning of the year, and we're going to divide that by 5. So again, we're still dividing it by 5. That's not going to change. And when you plug that into your calculator, you should get $4,800. Okay, so that's our second depreciation. And again, it seems like it's on the bigger side, but so now our accumulated depreciation is going to be 8,000 plus 4,800, because again we're just adding those together, so we get 12,800, and our book value is going to be that 12,000 minus that 4,800, and when we do that we get 7,200. So now we're going to look at the straight line method for the last 3 years. So the third type of depreciation depreciation value that we're going to have in this problem is going to be the same for the last 3. So you can kind of think about it as D3 and D4 and D5 are all going to be the same, because all 3 of these are going to have the same value. So how we get that value, I'm just going to call it D3. How we get that value is we take the wearing price minus the accumulated depreciation so far. So the accumulated depreciation all over the remaining number of years. Okay, so remaining number of years. So in our case, we've already used 2 of the 5, so our remaining years is going to be 3. Our wearing cost from above was 16,000, and then our accumulated depreciation is that 12,800. Okay, so then to get our D3, we're going to plug in this fraction. Now it's important here that you make sure that you have parentheses around your numerator, or you're going to get a very different answer. Okay, so be very careful when you're plugging this into your calculator. So I just want to show you that. So 16,000 minus 12,800, so I could do that separately. Divide that by 3. So we should get 1,066.67 rounding to the nearest penny. Now I just want to show you what happens when I don't use parentheses versus when I do parentheses, just to be clear about our entry errors here. So let's do it without parentheses first. So we get a very different value here because what happens is order of operation dictates that we divide first, then we subtract. So that's a very different value, but if we put parentheses around our numerator, hey, we get the same value that we just calculated. So again, you want to be very careful here when you're calculating this to make sure that you are using the right values. Okay, so again, this 1,066.67 is going to go for the rest of our D's because they're all going to match because now it's straight line. Okay, because again, it said, our prompt said the double declining balance for 2 years followed by that straight line method. Okay, followed by the straight line method. So that means the rest of the years are going to be the straight line. Now we fill out the table as normal. So go ahead and pause, and then when you're ready, check your answer. I'm just going to fill in the rest of the table. I'm not going to run through it. Alright, so for the first line, for your accumulated depreciation, you should get $13,866.67, and that means that your book value would be $6,133.33. Now the next line, we work these first two like normal. Again, this one we just calculated, this one we just add this plus this to get this. $6,133.33 minus this would have us end in a 6. Okay, so what that means here is instead of using 0.667, we're going to adjust it to be 0.66 because otherwise this is not our W, that's 16,000. It would be 16,001. Okay, so again, we're going to kind of work this one backwards because we want this to be the exact wearing value. We're not going to change it and have it 1 penny. We're going to change our depreciation value. So that one's just a little bit different. Okay, and our book value is still going to be that scrap. Okay, because these values aren't going to change. We're going to adjust this one, and when you adjust it, it should only be by a penny, a penny or so. It should not be a big change, and that usually only happens with the straight line depreciation adjustments.